Hey guys, Dan Lotz here of 922 Films. I'm coming here to make a video about 10 films that I love that I don't think most people have seen and I think will inspire most filmmakers. You're not going to see Citizen Kane or Clerks or Seven Samurai on this list. I wanted to go a little bit more obscure and hopefully give you guys some movies that will inspire you to make your own films. So let's start with the very first one, which is Quattrophenia.
What about Brighton this weekend, eh?
You're gonna be one of the faces down there, are you?
What do you mean, going to be? I am one of the faces.
Quattrophenia is based on the Who's album Quattrophenia. And it's a story about this kid who kind of gets stuck between these two factions. And he wants to become part of like a gang. They have these two different factions and he sort of gets stuck with the mods. Kind of joins this group and finds young love and parties and does everything you would expect sort of someone who would get into the gang lifestyle would do. And it's one of the most interesting films for it's just the pure spectacle of the scope of the film. I think the film has a really unique scope. It's got a ton of on-screen characters. I think it has sort of a sweeping narrative, and it's kind of one of those great coming-of-age storylines. I think so many movies that are coming-of-age kind of have a very limited outlook on what they can tell in the story, and I think this film specifically has a very broad, general story that I think can go to anyone, that anyone can really enjoy. Next we have Stephen Frears' The Hit. This is with John Hurt. Basically, it's about this guy who used to work in this mob, and basically what happens is he's gone past that life. He's sort of given up a few names, and now they're coming after to kill him. And basically, they take him in a car, and they're going to take him to a certain location and kill him. It's a far drive, but throughout the drive, our main character, the character that ratted everyone out, is completely calm and completely not afraid of what's going to happen to him. And this really concerns the two henchmen that are trying to take him out, because they don't really understand why wouldn't he be concerned. He's going to die. And there's a lot of tension in this film. Christopher Nolan is actually the person that recommended this to me. I saw a little article he wrote about it, and I think this really encapsulates the Nolan aesthetic. Now we have Stray Dog.
何？人をすられた。それは災難だったな。それで君スリの顔を覚えてると言ったな。バスの中に他にうさんくさいやついなかった。
This is an Akira Kurosawa film. This is probably the most film schoolery, but I really like this film because it's got all the noir sort of cliches before they were cliche. It's basically about this detective, and he loses his gun on the very first day of the job. And with that, he starts seeing that there are people being killed with the same gun. And he feels guilty because he essentially allowed this criminal to get access to his gun and kill people. So he has to hunt down the criminal and figure out who it is and get his gun back. It's just pure noir. Just does it in such a unique way. And I think it really brings you into the story. For a film made in the 40s, it really feels modern. Next we have Killing of a Chinese Bookie.
Well, we got it. Choreographs it. He stages it. He does the work.
Don't exaggerate. I do the best I can.
This is John Cassavetes' film. It's like his only crime film. If you can tell, there's a lot of crime films on this list. Just the genre that I like to play in. But this one is about this guy who kind of owns like a strip club, like a gentleman's club. And he owes all these debts to this organization. And basically he keeps pushing it off, until he has to do something about it. And the only way they're going to allow him to get his money, to pay off his money, is to kill this Chinese bookie. and there's a lot of twists and turns. The film is kind of one of the more ugly cinematography films I've seen. It's not. That's not what John Cassavetes was about. He really was about characters, and he was about sort of mining these sort of small minutia that characters bring out, that real people bring out. And when you like go into the gentleman's club in the film, it just feels like you're there. It feels like you're in a real place. Another John Cassavetes, it's not his film, it's Elaine May, but he was one of the main actors in the film. It's called Mikey and Nicky.
Peter Falk is Mikey.
I got a terrific suggestion for you, Nick. I suggest you find somebody you can trust.
John Cassavetes is Nicky.
They're gonna kill me, Nick. They're gonna kill me.
Mikey and Nicky
Is a film about these two sort of gangsters, and one of them has to take out his friend. That's basically what he is being told to do. And so he takes him on a night of kind of like debauchery, like drinking. They do a little bit of everything. And in that course of the night, things get more and more intense. And by the end of it, I think the film has this explosive energy that just envelops the whole film, because you kind of know from the get what's going to happen. You know that there is going to be something very intense that's going to happen at the end. You just don't know when and where. So we have Tokyo Drifter. Tokyo Drifter is the story about this guy. He's basically a drifter. He's this gangster, and basically the Yakuza are sort of like searching and hunting for him after sort of a bad altercation. And this film has such a unique color palette. It really reminds me of Refn. I know Refn had explained that he loved this film. So you can definitely see it. The angles, the way that the colors are used, the way the cinematography shows our main character in this swagger, cool sort of way. I think Tokyo Drifter just uses the color palette in such a vast way that I don't think a lot of other films use color. I think a lot of films are conservative with how they use color. Now we finally have broke the seal of crime films. We have Wise Blood.
It's that boy, Papa.
Smell the sin on his breath.
This is by John Huston. John Huston. He's a really, really great director. It's basically this religious tale about this guy who kind of is not religious anymore after, I believe, going in the war. And he comes back, and he is now in this community, and he has, like, no money, and he runs into this blind pastor. And basically, he hates him, he thinks he's terrible, but he has nowhere else to live, so he lives with this blind pastor and his daughter. And over the course of the film, a bunch of tragic events happen to him, and he tries to start his own church called the Church of No God. Basically, the way the plot goes is he tries to create this church that believes not in God at all. And through a series of events, he starts to learn, I think, more about his faith. That's basically where the film goes, is it teaches him more and more about his faith. We have Close Up. This is a film by Abbas Kiarostami, and this is a film that I have loved for many years. I saw it a couple years ago, and basically it's this film about this Iranian filmmaker. And basically there's this guy, he's pretending to be this filmmaker in real life. And then at some point he goes to trial, and then basically he goes to prison for it. But this actually happened in real life. And we find out that the events we're watching on film are actually real. They're real things. and all the events around it are filmed cinematography to enhance the story. And the film builds this emotional catharsis where we actually get the real filmmaker, that this guy who was imposing on his life, and we see this imposter, and they meet, and we have a real kind of situation between the two of them. So it's a very meta film, is the way I would describe it. Okay, now we're getting to Repo Man.
What you got in the trunk?
You don't want to look in there.
Repo Man is a film by Alex Cox, and basically Repo Man is about a guy who repossesses cars, and then he takes this kid, this kind of reckless punk asshole, and takes him under his wing and says, you can work with me, we'll repossess cars. And it's kind of like a dichotomy, because the punk lifestyle doesn't really go well with authority, but then this guy kind of becomes obsessed with repossessing cars. And then there's this whole, like, sort of alien subplot. There's an alien that's come down from up above, and it kind of builds to this really weird punk zeitgeist type film. And I really don't want to explain too much about the plot, because the plot is kind of what makes this such a unique picture, because I think the film has so many scenes of just pure zaniness, because you're kind of thrown into this hellish dystopian version of Los Angeles. And we've gotten to the final film. Basically, this is Badlands.
He was 25 years old. He combed his hair like James Dean. He was very fastidious. People who littered bothered him.
By Terrence Malick. One of probably my favorite films I've ever seen. It's about this guy who's kind of generally a serial killer. And he falls in love with this girl. And basically he goes on this journey across America where they just kind of fall in love and try to live in peace. But whenever people sort of get in their way, they have to kill them. Because this guy has these sort of serial killer instincts to just kill someone if he's on the run. It has such a interesting way of conveying this information, because in most films, I think as a serial killer, you see him as pure evil, and you don't really see any humanity, but I think this film really tries to show you the humanity in this character. I love Badlands. I think you'll love Badlands. It's probably, of all the films here, it's probably my favorite one. It's so great, and I would love if you guys check it out. So thank you so much. I hope you appreciated this video. I hope you learned something new. And please leave in the comments below a few films that you like that you think could inspire other filmmakers. Subscribe, like, comment, hit the notification bell. Do it all. You know what to do. And basically, I'm going to be trying to do more content like this on a regular basis. And I'm going to try to get my schedule so that I can make weekly content. So please, anything you can do to support the channel would really, really help. I have another one of these videos I made for my Patreon and $1 subscription fee. And basically on Patreon, I'll be doing this content very regularly. And I'll be also teaching you guys how I made my feature film Sheep Theater. So if you want to see any of that, please subscribe to the Patreon. It really helps me make films, and it's really the only way I was able to make this feature film Sheep Theater. Thank you so much, and have a great day.